check out my Patreon. It's going to be linked in the description below. For $5 a month, you can get access to all the source code from every single one of my videos, including this one, and all the files I use are on there, so you can just download them and use them for yourself. You also get a special role in my Discord channel so that the plebs know that you're a god. And also, thank you if you do that and support me. You can also join my Discord server, link in the description below. What is going on, guys? Welcome to this video. I'm excited for this one. This is my internal series. In this series, I'm going to show you how to make a universal DirectX hook. What does that mean? That just means it's going to be an internal hack, and basically any game you inject it into, as long as it's DirectX 9, it's going to hook the DirectX, and then it's going to let you, render a function. I'm also going to implement imgui, so it's going to be way easier to make wall hacks, your menu, stuff like that. So you just inject it into whatever game you want. It's going to work in any game. That's the goal. And yeah, we're going to have our menu. I'm going to show you how to make chams as well. First thing we're going to do is make the fucking project. So you're going to need to download some stuff for this. So first thing you're going to need is the detours library. I'm going to be using MS detours to hook the functions in this project here. So go download that. And you're also going to need the DirectX SDK. So go download that. I'll put the links in the description if I can find them. So go check that out. Yeah, so we're going to make our project here. It's going to be C++, Windows Desktop, and then DLL, because it's going to be an internal hack, so we're going to inject it. I'm just going to call it D3D9 hook, and that's it. Okay, so before we even start coding, we're going to have to set up our project here. We're going to have to change some of the settings, and we're going to have to include all the libraries that we're going to use, okay? So for me, I'm going to have to get rid of these files here, the std.afx. It's default for me. I don't know how to turn it off, but I just get rid of them every single time. I'm also going to get rid of this file here. And so all I want is DLL main right now. I'm going to get rid of that as well. So in our project settings here, I'm going to show you what we have to do. So first thing is change the character set to multi-byte. Then we're going into our directories here, and in the include, we're going to add a few include directories here. So you want to make sure that you've downloaded, like I said before, detours and the DirectX SDK. My detours is located here, and this is what you want to include, the detours folders, okay? Because that's got all the files that we need that we include. And I also want to include the DirectX folder. So I'm going in my C drive here, and I'm going to find where DirectX is installed. It's right here. And I'm going into include, and that's it. And I'm clicking OK, and then we're doing the libraries here. So for this one, we need to do the detour libraries, which is, for me, it's in here, and then here, and then release. And that should be that. And then I'm doing the DirectX libraries now. So it's in C drive, and then it's where I found the include files, but instead of include, we're going to go to lib. Okay, so we're going lib here, and then x86, because we want to do x86. The reason I'm doing x86 is because the game I'm going to be testing it on is Counter-Strike Global Offensive, okay? And that is a 32-bit game, okay? So we're doing x86. If your game is 64-bit, then you would do x64, okay? So we're doing x86. I'm hitting apply, and that's it. Okay, I'm going in here as well. I'm turning off pre-compiled headers because I don't need them. And that should be it. That should be everything that we need included. I'm going to zoom in for you guys so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to change this to release. That shouldn't affect anything, I don't think. Okay, so I'm going to include a couple of the libraries here. I'm going to paste them in. So we're including the D3D9 lib, D3DX9, and detours. Okay, now we're gonna have a bunch of includes. I'm gonna copy paste them as well. Just pause the video and type them out yourselves if you want to. And I did forget something. So we see here we get an error for imgui, so I forgot to include imgui. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to navigate to so I'm going to find where I've got the imgui stuff installed, which is in my other things. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste this folder here, which has, I'm putting it in the same folder as this project here, right next to the solution file. And in this folder, it's got these files. Now these are from the imgui GitHub repository. Go download that. That will give you all these files and more. Okay, and these are the files that you want. So if you want, pause the video and go download imgui and find these files and then put them into a folder and put it into your project just like this. And I'm going to include it into Visual Studio now. So what I'm doing is I'm right clicking on this and I'm going to add, and I'm clicking new filter. I'm just going to say imgui, okay? And then I'm right clicking on that and I'm saying existing items, and I'm just going to go into the folder that we have here and I'm going to include everything, okay? So that makes our project a little cleaner, okay? And now that we have it in a separate folder, we're still getting errors here because we need to put the folder into our include directory. So we see include directories and we're going to put that folder in here, which we just created, which is in our solution folder here. And it's this folder right here. So we're just clicking that and then apply, and then our errors should disappear. There we go. All right, so we've got everything included, everything set up, and we can start coding just to make sure that everything is done correctly. I'm going to just try and build it as it is right now just to see if we have any errors. Okay, so you probably won't get this error. Yeah, so you guys probably won't get this error. I get this error every single project that I make. I don't know why. If you do get this error, I'll show you how you fix it. You just got to add a library directory in here. So you just got to navigate to where Visual Studio is installed. So for me, it's in my C drive here, and then it's in Programs Files. Then it's down here, Visual Studio. I got 2017. And then in VC, you want to go Tools, and then here, and then in Lib right here, and then x86 because we're doing x86 up here. Okay, and that should fix that error. So I'm going to try build again, and there we go. Everything works fine. So now we know that everything's included correctly and everything should work. So if there are errors down the line, it's going to be our code and not because of a library that we're including. Okay. So all I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to set up the hooks, and I'm going to set up our universal DirectX hook, okay? And then I'm going to just hook EndScene, okay? I'm going to see if we can hook EndScene. I'm going to show a message box, and we're going to see if we can get the hooks working, okay? So by the end of this video, we should have an EndScene hook, which should work on any DirectX 9 game. And then in the next videos, I'll be expanding, I'll be hooking more functions, and then I'll show you guys how to make cams, the menu, everything like that, okay? But in this video, it's gonna be very basic. We're just doing the beginning of the project. So first thing we're gonna need to do, the first thing that we're gonna need to do is just define the EndScene function. So we're gonna use a type def here, and it's gonna be a H result, and it's a standard call. Pointer, and we're going to call it EndScene right here. Okay, and the argument's going to be a direct device for the direct 3D9. Yep, so we're doing that one, and then we're just going to say it's P device because it's a pointer to the device. Okay, and we're going to, when we hook this function, the EndScene function, we want this argument because we're going to use our hook to find the game's device. Okay, if you don't understand how DirectX works, do a bit of research, just Google a couple things. But basically, once we grab the games device here, we'll be able to render our menu and stuff like that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to define our hook function, and that's going to be a hResult standard call as well, and we're going to call it hook EndScene, just like that. And it's going to have the same argument here because we want to hook it and we want to grab the game's device. And then we have the original EndScene, which we're going to store in here. Why are we going to store the original EndScene? Because if we want to unhook and uninject, we want to restore the original function pointer, and we want to get rid of our hook, okay, so the game doesn't crash after our library is uninjected. Okay, so we got the function definitions there. Now we're going to do some global variables here. First one's going to be our global device variable, so I'm just going to copy this. It's going to be the same data type, and we're just going to call it global pointer to a D3D device, and we're going to set that to null. And then we're going to need a handle to a window. I'm just going to call this window. That's going to be null. Okay, next we're going to need some Windows message handlers. So we're going to do a L results, and it's going to be Win API, and that's going to be wind proc. First thing is going to be a handle to the window, the message, and then a parameter here, and then a L parameter. Okay, so after that we're going to need our original wind process here, and that's going to be window process original. Okay, and we're just going to set that to null. Cool. Okay, so now we've got some variables out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to make a couple functions here to help us get a handle to the window. Okay, so first one we're going to do is we're just going to make a boolean here. It's going to be a callback, and it's going to be called enum windows callback, okay, because we want to enumerate the windows here. And the first one's going to be a handle to the window, and then L parameter. Okay, so what this function is going to do is it's going to need a store a D word here, which is going to be the window ID, or the process ID, sorry. And then we're going to use this function here called get window thread process ID, and that's going to take the handle there, and it's going to store the process ID into the variable to be defined up there. Okay, so now we have the process ID, and we want to make sure that it matches our current process ID. So we're going to say get current process ID, and we're going to see if it matches the one that we just found. So if it doesn't match, we're going to return true, and that means we're going to just go over to the next window, right? We're going to skip this window and keep enumerating the windows. So otherwise, if it does match, then we found the right window. So we're going to say we want to store this handle, right? And then we're just going to return false so that it stops enumerating the windows. And now we have the callback, so we're going to make another function which uses that callback. So it's going to be called get process window, and this is going to call a function which uses that callback. So we're going to just we don't need to do that. We're just going to say enum windows, which is the function we want to call, and this is going to take our callback which we just coded, and then we're going to pass null for that. We don't care. And then we're just going to return whatever window became, right? So that's how we're going to get the handle to the window. Next, we're going to make our universal hook. So we're going to make the function that gets the, basically it's just going to create a dummy device, and then it's going to find the VTable to the DirectX function so that we can hook them. So It's going to be a boolean so that we know if it worked or not, and it's going to be called get d3d9 device. Okay, so the first one is going to be a void double pointer for a VTable, and then size, the size that we want. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we're going to check if this is valid. So if it's not, I'm just going to say return false, right? Okay, so we're gonna need one more global variable here. I forgot it. After here, you want to do a direct 3D. It's gonna be a pointer, and we want that to be our global d3d variable. Okay, we're gonna set that to null initially. Okay, and then we're going to set this down here. We're gonna set this to an actual value down here. So we're gonna say this equals direct 3D create. This is going to create our d3d variable here, and we want to pass our version, which is just stored in this definition here, which is d3d underscore SDK underscore version, and that'll pass in the SDK version that you have. And then we want to make sure that that works, so we say if this pointer is invalid, we want to just return false. Okay, otherwise if it works, we're going to set up our presentation parameters here. Okay, so we're going to create a variable here, an instance of this, an instance of d3d present parameters, and we're just going to call it d3d pp. Good joke. Okay, so now that we have this instance here, we can populate it. So we're going to say the swap effect, we want that to be this flag here, which is d3d swap effect discard, and this is not how you spell it, this has to be capital. Okay, then we want to set the device window, and this is the handle to the window which we want to render on, which is going to be the game window, which we found. So we're going to call get process window, and that's going to find the game window. Okay, and then we're going to set the last value here, dot windowed. We're going to set this to false because we don't want it to run in windowed, right? Okay, now we can create our device. So we're going to create a dummy device here. Just by calling create device, right? So we're going to call create device, and we're going to pass a couple parameters here. First one is going to be d3d adapter default. Then we're going to pass d3d dev type hal, and then the window which we want to render on. And then we want to have vertex processing, so we're going to say hardware vertex processing, and then we're going to store that into, we're actually going to pass our presentation parameters, and then we want to store the device into our global here, and that's going to store the device there. Okay, cool, so we've created the device there. I'm just going to do this to make it easier to read. Okay, so we create our device here. Now we're going to check if that works. So if this is valid, actually, oh yeah, if it's invalid we'll do, and then we want to release it. So we're going to say we want to release this, and then we're going to return false because it didn't work, right? Otherwise, if it did work, we're going to keep going. So now that we have our dummy device, we can find the VTable of the virtual functions which we want to hook. So the way we're going to do this is we're just going to use a function called memcopy, so that we copy the memory here, and we're going to say going to store it in VTable, which is the parameter that we pass to this function, and that's going to store the VTable now. And then we're going to do a typecast here, so we're doing a reinterpret cast, and we want it to be a void, and we're going to do pointer, 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 and that's going to be our device here. Okay, so we're going to pass the device there, and then the size, which is going to be the size of the VTable, right? And we need a second bracket there, and that should be good. Why is it not good? Rightio, I've missed a bracket here. So we need another bracket there for the typecast. Okay, cool. So yeah, so what we're doing here is we're copying the VTable. We get it from the device, and then it's going to be the size of the VTable. Okay, so after we've done that, we can just release everything we don't need anymore. So we're going to release this. Actually, first we're going to do the device. So I'm just going to do release the device, and then I can release that. So this, okay, and then we're going to go return true. Okay, so that's how we get the VTable for DirectX. Now we're going to make a helper function here. This is just going to help us clean up everything. So what this is going to do is just going to check if we have the device still. What the fuck is that? Okay, if we do, we're going to release it, right? So we're going to say we're going to release, and then we're just going to set it to null. Okay, we don't want it anymore. And then we're going to do the same with our direct3d variable here. So we're just going to do this, release, and then set it to null. Okay, and we're going to call this if like our hooks fail or whatever. So after that, we're going to make our main thread here. Okay, so now we're ready to make the hooks to hook EndScene and stuff. Okay, so after we've done that, now we can make our EndScene hook function, and basically all it's going to be is it's just we're going to do. Okay, so now we can make our EndScene hook our function here. So it's going to be a H result, just like we defined above. It's a standard call as well, and we called it EndScene. Okay, and then it's going to take a device here, pointer to a device, and we called it pDevice. Okay, so all we wanted to do is we just want to show a message box, okay, to show that we successfully hooked the function and that everything's working in this project. So I'm going to make a static bool here, and what that means is it's basically that just means that this line is going to run once, right? It's only going to set it to false once, and after that it won't do anything. So we're going to check if it's false, right, if we haven't initialized yet. And if we haven't, so basically on the first time this runs, we want to show a message box, and we want to say hello. I need to pass 0 here first, and then I want to say hello from inside EndScene. Okay, and then we can set init to true because we've initialized and we've shown a message box. Okay, so basically why we're doing this is because EndScene runs very frequently. It's constantly being executed. So if we just had a message box call, it'll just spam message boxes, right? So we want to make sure this only runs once. So we have a static bool here, we set it to false, and then we set it to true after it runs once, okay, so that it doesn't run again. After that, we need to return something, so we return the original EndScene, so that and then we return the original EndScene at the end there, okay? And that's how we hook EndScene, and that's all we're going to do. Now we need to make our main thread here. So it's going to be a dword win API, and we're just going to call it main thread. And all it's going to take is base here, right? So this is where we're gonna get the VTable and where we're gonna hook the functions. So we're gonna need a void pointer to store the VTable, and it has 119 functions. And then we're going to get the VTable here. So we're going to check if it works, and we're going to call get D3v9 device, and we're going to pass our void pointer here for the VTable, and then we're going to pass the size of it. Okay. And if that works, then we're going to continue. Okay, so once we've done that and it works, now we can hook EndScene. So we're going to say EndScene because we want to store it, the original address of EndScene, and that's going to be returned by this function here that we call. So this is going to be from the MS detours. We're using x86 here, and we're just going to use detour function. Okay. Okay, so we want to typecast it to a pointer here, so we're going detours, and it's going to be a pointer here, and then typecasting it to that. So that's going to be the function pointer, right? So it's going to be the VTable, and we're going to say index 42, and then we're going to pass our hook. So we want to typecast that as well because that's what this function takes. And we're just going to pass our EndScene hook right here. Okay. So what this is doing is it's going to replace the original function with our hook so that it calls our hook instead. And we're going to store the original so that if we want to unhook, we can just put the original address back in. Okay, so I've misspelt that. Just put a D in there, and that should work. Oh, this has to be capital as well. Okay, so now we've hooked it. Now we're just going to have a while loop, okay? We're going to say while true because we want our library to be constantly running inside the process. And we're going to check if we want to unhook. So we're going to say if we press F10, then we're going to unhook and uninject. So basically all we have to do for now is we're just going to clean up our device, and then after we clean up we can free the library and exit the thread. So we're going to call that function there, and we're going to pass, I'm going to cast it first as a handle to a module. We're going to pass the base here, and then we're just going to pass 1, and that should uninject for us. And then yeah, otherwise if it doesn't work, right, we want to do the same. We want to free the library. Okay, so this is our main thread. What we do is we get the VTable, then we hook the function, we hook EndScene, and we store the original. Then we have a while true loop, and if we press F10, then we just clean up the device, and then we free the library and exit the thread. And that's it. So now we just need to call it down here. We're going to create a thread here. So I'm just going to call create thread. And the reason we need to create a new thread is because you need to make a new thread so that you can create a DirectX device. Otherwise it gives you an error if you try to do it in the same thread. So first thing we're going to pass is a null pointer, and then we're going to pass null, and then we're going to pass the function that we want it to call, which is main thread. And we need a handle to the function, handle to the module, sorry, and then null, and then null pointer. Okay, and this is the parameter for our function up here, right? So that we can free the library. So that should work. I'm going to build, see if I have any errors, and if it builds, I'm just going to inject into CSGO and see how it works. So I'm going to use, you can use any injector. I'm just going to use guided hacking injector. If you follow my injector tutorials, you can use your own injector. Okay, so I've got CSGO open here. It's just in the menu. I'm going to inject now, and I'll see if I get the message box. Okay, I injected, and yeah, we got the message box. So it's successfully hooked. I showed our message box here, hello from EndScene, and CSGO is frozen in the back because it's waiting for the message box. So if I click OK, CSGO continues and doesn't crash, our hook's working. So yeah, that's it for this video. In the next ones I'll show you how to hook more functions. I'll attach imgui, and then I'll show you how to render a menu, and then I'll show you how to make chams and wallhacks and stuff.